Hi, welcome to the podcast. I'm Sam,
I'm Parker.
and we're doing a really special episode today.
Yeah.
We watched Tetsuo the Iron Man. What? Why are you laughing?
Well, I was only laughing because I'm thinking back on on my viewing of Tetsuo as you were saying, and I was like, oh man.
Well, we'll get to that in a second.
Right.
I
For
wanna
the record, to clarify, neither of us have said anything about how we feel. Well, I mean,
No.
Sam's told me about how much she likes the movie, but I haven't said
like plots or hot takes or anything. We have not talked about that.
we have not said anything.
Nothing. All you said to me was that you liked it. That's all.
Yeah. After watching it and then watching several scenes over and then going through a plot synopsis, I can officially say I'm partially ready for this.
Yes, yes. I love hearing that. Rewatching scenes part.
Well, I'll explain it in a minute when we get to that point.
Okay. I want to open this by saying I love this movie. It's like this is set in stone. It is my favorite movie ever. Period.
Yeah.
And this is, well, I already watched it like a couple weeks ago because I got the Tsukamoto box set.
You talked
And
about
then
that.
I rewatched it just now before getting on a call with Parker and recording
I watched
this.
it last night.
And this is like my 5th time watching it. And it still fucking hits. I love this movie. And I think, Parker,
Yeah.
you should start describing your experience.
So, I have a really bad case of ADHD. In case I haven't said that yet. My experience was I figured what was going to happen is what happened with The Lighthouse. Although I had watched The Lighthouse already, but where I'm multitasking, either like doing something on my phone or watching or playing a game while I'm watching it. But I mean, there's lots of reasons why that didn't work out, but it did actually capture my attention really quickly, which was a good sign for me.
Hell yeah.
It really immediately jumps into it.
I'd feel like
Tetsuo
the Iron Man is like the best friend of someone who has ADHD.
It really is like a full-on jump in, like I won't say no build-up, but like no BS all the way through, making you wait for the point of it. It's very much
all the boring shit cut out.
Right. It really is like the perfect kind of, you want to sit down for an hour and fully engage in a movie, and that's the movie.
That's the thing. It's so memorable, and it's only an hour long.
There's so much about that movie. Do you want me to jump into like my whole thing with it?
Just like, how about, okay, well, I don't know how we do this. Do we go through the plot?
I guess I can just kind of talk, and we'll
like, what is the structure with talking about this movie?
I think it's so. I realized while watching this, it was very different in terms of what I wanted to bring up than The Lighthouse. In that, there's not much to talk about in terms of the people inside of them. I mean, everybody did a great job, for the record. Everybody, actors and actresses were fantastic.
Are you talking about the characters?
Yes, the characters were great, but I do feel like a lot of that movie talked a lot more about the director than it did the actual movie, which is Tsukamoto. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Tsukamoto.
Okay, yeah, Shinya Tsukamoto. Which
you got it.
I feel like that movie alone tells a lot about that person as a director.
Yep.
Well, and like I will say that the movie was weird, but I watched weird movies before. I will say it is in like my top like.
Said.
I don't know. I feel like where do I start with this?
Now you're where I was at.
Okay, all right. In terms of a movie, I loved it. I really liked the movie.
Hell yeah.
The reason why I had to rewatch some scenes and watch plot synopsis, spoiler alert for what I'm about to say, I didn't really until I did this.
Let's set this up. Spoiler alert, this entire podcast.
Yeah, all the podcast is going to be spoiler alert the whole time. I might put up like a thing right here where we just talk about recommendations.
Okay.
But other than that, it's going to be entirely spoiler.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so just get a guess that if we have a movie in the title, there's going to be spoilers for this movie.
Absolutely. What were you saying?
No, you're fine. So I think as a film, okay, sorry, I'm back to my point. So.
Oh, you had to rewatch scenes. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I had to rewatch scenes because I didn't understand until I looked it over again who the guy near the end of the film was. The man that was hit by the car. I didn't realize that's who the metal fetishist.
Yes.
As a lot of people call him.
He has many names, but that's my favorite.
Yeah, I didn't realize that's who that was until I kind of went through a couple different things. I mean, you could clearly tell. In fact, by the end of the movie, I was pretty certain that's who that was. I just wanted to make sure that was the link.
That's the thing about this movie is that, like, the first time you watch it, you don't quite get it. But as an experience, it just works so well that you don't really have to. And then rewatching it, you just notice more and more stuff until you get, like, a clearer picture of what's happening in your head.
Right, and it is like... There's just so much to say about the director in terms of he's really, it is he, right? I'm not.
Yes.
Okay, he is really good at making a lot out of a little.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is you can tell this movie didn't have a massive budget, and you can tell that it wasn't a huge production, but it felt like a huge production.
Oh my god!
Like there were all of this stuff is made out of very common things you can find, like all of the metal.
Yeah.
I noticed he was using, I'm assuming trash bags maybe, for some of the scenes, something like that. But
wires.
Even though I knew, when I knew what it was that I was looking at in terms of a technical aspect, it still felt like exactly what he wanted you to see.
Yes.
And using stop motion and stuff like that for some scenes, while it might seem cheesy, it works.
It works,
especially during, what's the scene? I don't know what everybody would call it, like the futuristic, like apocalyptic whatever, where he's...
the wasteland.
Yeah, in the metal world.
A new world.
I think that's a good use that he used of it. Personally, for me, I don't think you're going to agree with me on this. I wasn't the biggest fan of the chase scene, but only because it was a lot of like, it was kind of sensory overload for me. That's my favorite scene in the movie, but I understand. I like the scene. It's not that I hate it. It's just, it's very much...
I think that's why it works for me, because I can't watch that without jumping in my seat and pumping my arms, just like, yeah!
And that's fair. I totally understand that. It's just, for me, like, it was a lot of flashing things. Like, it wasn't obviously flashing for real, but, like, it felt like it was flashing, and there was a lot of loud noise, and I was just like, whoa, what's happening right now? I did like it, though. That's not to say I didn't like that scene, or that changes my view. I do think that was the only real, like, weird part of the stop motion, is that sometimes it kind of seems janky, but I think he did great with it, all across the board.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
He did what he...
I have a question for you,
Parker. He did what he... Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So we spent 10 minutes, and I think there are probably some people who, if there's anyone listening to this, there's some people who are wondering, what'd you think of that drill penis?
So I thought, I don't know. What I could tell is the director really liked. I wouldn't even say liked sex. I think he liked to add it. Is that pretty consistent throughout his films?
What is?
Or is it just this one?
What is?
Like the sexual themes throughout. It felt a lot like, especially during the middle of the film. Is that pretty? I feel like that would be pretty common with him. It feels like a staple as I was watching it.
It's not a staple, but he touches on it.
Yeah.
Over and over again. That might be a staple. He made a movie called Snake of June.
Yeah.
Where the whole movie is that. That's literally what the movie is about. And it's the horniest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So yes, it is like a recurring theme.
I do think it points to like his strengths in terms of shock. Like I think that's what he goes for a lot in his films, especially since this is one of the earlier forms of body horror films.
Yeah.
Is his film, which shows like he wasn't afraid of trying to shock the viewer in whatever way he could.
Yeah.
Including sexual themes, which I do feel like it was a very poetic justice how that scene went, like the drill penis scene.
Yes.
Like at first I was like, oh, he has a drill penis, that's crazy. but I did like after I kind of got what the story was, I was like, oh, that's a satisfying way of that going. Like in terms of that's what
Good
killed her.
choice of words.
Just because of that's what they did in front of him and stuff like.
And
yeah,
after watching it the first time, I completely forgot about the sodomy dream sequence.
So there was a lot of scenes that felt like dream sequence. Is that when he's in the bathtub?
That's do you remember when the girl's like doing the dance and she's got like this giant wire strap on?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, that got completely scrubbed out of my brain after the first time I watched it, and then the second time I was like,
probably blocked it out of your memory.
But yeah, there's and I've told to this reading of it, there's a lot of latent homosexuality in this film.
Yeah, I noticed that.
One of the cutest details of which I love seeing, and every time I think of this movie I think of it, is when the metal fetishist is making his way over to the guy's house. And he's holding a bouquet of flowers.
Yeah.
And as he rips himself through this guy's girlfriend, the first thing that comes out is the bouquet of flowers. And it's presented to him.
Yeah.
I love that.
I think it's even more interesting considering, like, what the thought of homosexuality was around that time.
Yeah.
Again, it, like, shows he's pulling another aspect of, like, throwing things in people's faces to make them uncomfortable in the film.
Yeah.
I think I went way too into this thinking there were going to be hidden meanings behind everything.
Oh no.
Maybe it's because of last episode.
Yeah.
But I went way too much into it, thinking like, oh, everything has to mean something.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see a horror movie by somebody who just wants to tell a story.
Well, it is like very like it is just like someone just wants to tell a story, but there is still like. It's not very symbolic, but there's still like underpinnings that you can kind of read into it.
Yeah.
Like
it's the kind of stuff that you can't grasp. Like it's not as like solid of a connection. It doesn't feel like, but you can tell it's there. Like you can be like, oh, this could have a couple different reasons why he would have done that.
And that's why this is so great as like watching it over and over again, because like each time I watch it again, I pick up on new things, and my idea of it changes.
Was this one of his first few films?
Yes, he did. Adventures of Electric Rod Boy, which is his first film. Which remind me to talk about that. And then he did a short film called Phantom of Regular Size, which was basically a test run of this film, Tetsuo.
Gotcha.
It's exactly the same plot. It's just 18 minutes.
I could kind of tell that it was his like. One of his first movies, only because not for any bad reasons.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of times where you could tell he was kind of going through different genres throughout the movie.
Yeah, it has that energy that you see in a lot of early films.
Yeah, it has the energy of like he's trying a bunch of different things to see where he's more comfortable.
Yeah.
Like especially I noticed it during the 2 fight scenes in the film, because it during a normal horror movie, I think there's a lot of the dynamic of whoever the protagonist is normally at a disadvantage in a fight.
Yeah.
There's not really a fight, it's more of a chase. But there were two fight scenes in this film where they were pretty evenly matched the whole time.
Yeah.
And so you could tell he was also trying a real like actual fight action scene along with all the horror elements.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was trying to feel out that section as well, which I think is a very common theme for like newer directors. But that was cool to see, I feel like. Yeah. Especially like He had a really good use of space the whole movie too.
Oh yeah.
It like I think the beginning chase scene with I can't think of her name.
She doesn't have a name.
I just call her Pencil Lady.
Yeah, Pencil Lady works.
The Pencil Lady, I feel like that whole scene was really great because it was a very small space they were working.
Yes,
in, but they used every corner and cranny to like enhance everything.
Yeah, and it's like there's so many filmmakers who, when filming a scene like that, would just kind of like pick a couple angles and stick with that.
Yeah.
But then like in this one, it like the camera moves everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just exploring the space.
Right.
And
I think that's impressive. It's really impressive.
I'm bisexual.
Yeah.
And that Pencil Lady, when you've seen this tweet.
Yeah.
You've seen me tweet about this.
Yeah, I saw it.
When she, oh my god, I am gay for her. I love her.
I do think that was another part of it too.
I
think that was on purpose.
Like her attractiveness, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like they tried to enhance like the. I don't know. There was like a scene where instead of killing him, she kind of seemed like she was doing some kind of seducing whatever. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff like that where it takes a very sexual route.
Yeah.
Especially the feeding scene. I didn't really.
I love that scene.
I could tell that was. He just keeps like. That whole scene where every time she chews on something.
And it's just like.
That was another thing too. I noticed he was using that as like another type of making the audience cringe with like metal noises.
Yeah.
Because that's like one of the most like hard to listen to noises. I think there was a poll done forever ago. Huh? It's just so the whole movie you can tell was just to make people uncomfortable, and again, it feels like that seems like it would be a common theme with him. If not just in this film.
Well, it's not making someone uncomfortable. It's more like tackling very uncomfortable things.
Yeah.
And sort of like showing them to everybody. That is like a running thing in his films.
Gotcha.
Like Tokyo Fist and Bullet Ballet, yeah, they followed that, and definitely Tetsuo too.
Mm-hmm.
Which, Parker?
Yes.
We need to do an episode of Tetsuo too.
I've been thinking of watching Tetsuo too, especially after like just doing light research before we watched it. Nothing crazy, but like just kind of hearing about the different films he's made. I was like, oh, that one specifically sounds interesting.
Yes. Please tell me when you do, because I would rewatch it and then we could do an episode on it.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know. His films interest me in general, just for the fact that it feels like a movie you would see now. It really does.
Yeah.
It's like he didn't have limitations.
Yeah.
For whatever time he was in.
It's like his brain was the camera, and any shot he thought of, just appeared. It
was like, oh, I can't do this with real people. I'll use trash bags and random metal. Oh, I can't use that for this scene. I'll use stop motion.
One thing I can't
just use stop motion. Yeah.
One thing I noticed about this time watching it, there's a puppet of the guy.
Yeah, when was that? I'm trying to. Oh, yes. Is that near the end that you're thinking of?
2 times near the end.
Uh-huh.
When oh no, I don't think this was the guy. I think this was actually the fetishes. So there's a puppet of both of them. My God, like when Jesus, this is gonna be a hell of a time describing. When the fetish's head. This is the first time I actually understood that fight scene visually. And this is the 5th time I'm watching this movie. When they're fighting in the warehouse.
Yeah.
And the fetishist is pulled in, and the fetishist's head breaks out and elongates, and then goes to the window and looks out the window.
Yeah.
That's a puppet.
Yeah, I saw that one. That one was definitely terrifying, but
the other one is when his dead girlfriend's in the bath, and he's putting the tube down her throat.
Yeah.
That's also a puppet when he's like sucking it back up. You can see like a hand like pulling it and dragging it inside.
I think it's really cool I think it really worked for him, the black and white limitations of back then. Because I feel like...
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay, I guess I gotta mark down that silence. Hold on. Okay. I was gonna say, I feel like there was a lot of, if any other circumstance, if it was in color and like you could see lighting really well and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I feel like puppets in stop motion just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
But he used it really well with like the lighting and darkness and stuff like that to make it so that it just looked horrifying.
Yeah.
Like, I think with our brains now, maybe not back then, but like now you can kind of tell all the stuff he uses, but it still does the effect he wants it.
Yeah, it's still obscured enough where you still kind of believe it.
Right.
And the thing is, Phantom of regular size is in color. And
really?
I think that makes it just way less intense and way less sort of exciting.
And I think some films would do that for him, especially since you said that one was his first one, right?
Electric Rod Boy, and then Tetsuo was the second one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. Back then when it came to black and white, it really limited some films, but really elevated other ones.
Yeah.
And ironically, the ones that elevated were usually the lower budget ones, just because it usually helped with hiding a lot of the lower budget.
Yeah.
Look, it would hide a lot of that stuff, and so
like the scene,
your brain would kind of fill in the gaps.
Yeah. The thing is, the limitations of this movie, like all the points where you can look at it and go, oh, they put putty on him and stuck a bunch of wires. Like, noticing all of that, the thing about this movie is that strengthens it. It doesn't weaken it.
Yeah.
I think all the limitations that show that this is a movie just make it more enjoyable, because you're like, this is a movie. Someone filmed this. Someone wanted to make this, and they did.
It's in this weird, like, Schrodinger's area where you, like you said, you can tell that someone made it.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of higher production movies, it completely leaves your mind that there's a crew behind it. But there are other lower ones where you're like, oh yeah, I can clearly tell a guy's holding the camera. But it's in this weird middle area where you're like, yeah, I can tell it's an independently made thing. And it has that charm where you know other people are working on it, even though it's supposed to be fiction. But at the same time, it's good enough in terms of story and effects that you're still in it as if it's not made by people.
Yeah.
You can just tell through every inch of the movie how involved he was with the production.
Oh, you want to talk about involved?
Let's hear it,
Parker.
Yes.
All right, hold on. Let me look this up real quick.
I
have something to tell you.
Okay.
Oh, I have a big thing to tell you first, which I just realized you probably didn't know. Do you know the actor for The Fetishist?
I don't know him, but let's hear it.
Ooh. Actually, you do know him, Parker.
Do I?
His name is Shinya Tsukamoto.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Let's go through this. Directed by Shinya Tsukamoto. Written by Shinya Tsukamoto. Produced by Shinya Tsukamoto. Edited by Shinya Tsukamoto. Art direction by Shinya Tsukamoto. Cinematography by Shinya Tsukamoto.
So he was involved, is what you're saying.
Yes. That is a lot of his movies.
That's a one-man show.
Yes. Parker, I watched an interview of his today.
Yeah.
Where he was talking about this movie, because I was doing research. And I found out, this knocked me off my feet a little. I found out he even remastered his own movies.
Really?
He remastered Tetsuo and Tetsuo 2. And then the interview ended and it went to the credits. He interviewed himself. He set up the camera, hit record, and then got a bunch of questions people had asked online and then answered them as if he were talking to someone off camera. Like,
I do think that's really funny to me, only because you can tell how much he does himself.
Yes.
And you can probably imagine how many people tried to reach out to him and go, "Hey, do you want us to interview you?" He's like, "Nah, I got this, you guys. I got this."
Probably also like a issue of scheduling and stuff.
Yeah.
It'd be much easier just to interview yourself.
No, that makes sense.
But that's why I love Tsukamoto, is because he is deeply, deeply involved in almost all of his movies.
Yeah, and I think that's like what's unique about him. It's those are his movies. Like, I don't think a lot of directors, or even writers, or even I don't know,
like
however
Alfred
people
Hitchcock.
can say it's their film.
Alfred Hitchcock. You can say, "Oh, this is an Alfred Hitchcock movie," but you can't really say like it's his movie, because there's always a writer and a separate producer, and the actors kind of take charge a little. But with this,
but
like,
these are his.
I think I have no sort of knowledge in this, really, of like auteurs and stuff. But I like, as far as what I've seen, Shinya Sakamoto is like the closest to an actual auteur.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I don't know. It's I had something, but it's gone. I just think he's nope, it's gone. Okay, go ahead.
Yep. That's Tetsuo. You try to grab on something and then something else happens.
Well, okay, I think I got what I'm saying, kind of. He just feels like I swear I had a thought and it's just not happening for me now. I'll come back to it later.
How about that music, Parker?
Music was really good.
Yes, that's one of my favorite soundtracks.
It did feel not in a like obvious way or in a bad way, but it felt very detached from the film, and yet it worked. Like it felt like a very action oriented soundtrack sometimes, and other times it was a really good horror soundtrack. But that brings me back to what I was actually going to say. I do feel like he puts a lot of effort into it, and I think he's willing to put all of the blame on himself and take on all the burden, even with the like the downsides that come to taking on a whole project himself. I think it seems like, although I haven't watched his other films, so I can't speak to if there are huge errors, but I'd imagine with as many movies as he's made, doing it mostly himself, there's obviously some movies or some aspects of them where people are like, oh, well, this isn't my favorite. But it seems like he's very okay with that. Like, and I think that's good. I think a lot of people try to independently make films, and in this scale, and they're not willing to accept that there's going to be flaws in doing that.
Yeah.
Like if you go into film or game development or anything like that and go, I want to do this all myself. I want to be the next Toby Fox / the next Tsukamoto. I want to be the next that. Then if people are going to be like, all right, just know there's a chance it's going to suck. Then it'd be ignorant for that person to go, oh well, no, because X, Y, and Z. Like, no, you got to go into it thinking it might suck.
Yeah,
that's got to be. And I think he's really good at being realistic. It seems like, at least.
Yeah. Fuck, I was gonna say something too. Oh no.
No, you're fine.
Oh God.
I'll just keep saying words until something comes out.
I want to go back to the music.
Yeah, sorry.
You said something.
Okay.
You said something that I actually disagree with.
Yeah?
You said that the music doesn't really fit with the movie? I feel like it does. Like, it's very... It's an industrial soundtrack. It's a very industrial movie. I feel like there is an element of action in there. In the actual movie.
So I guess I should reword it. It wasn't that it didn't fit.
Yeah.
It was unexpected, I guess I should say.
Okay.
It was like bold, and it worked. It worked really well.
Yeah.
I do think if you listen to it separately from that, and then someone says, "Oh, that's for a Japanese black and white horror movie," I think they would probably be taken aback by that. They'd be like, "Oh, that sounds kind of like it wouldn't work for that," but it does. And especially since, specifically the beginning scene and a little bit later, there's a lot of scenes where the music was made for that scene specifically.
Yeah.
Like the stair scene, which is one of my favorites, I feel like.
Yeah, where are you talking about the one where he's backlit and he's just like hitting the walls? Is that what you're talking about?
So I'm talking about that, and I'm also talking about right after he gets away from Pencil Girl, or around that time when he's in that staircase, like the narrow staircase thing at the top, and he's like, I don't know, lifting himself up with it and like convulsing and stuff. There's the music that goes with that works really well with it, but especially like you said, the beginning part, where he's flipping out with the music.
Oh no, I was talking about the same thing you were talking about.
Oh, okay.
Oh, but
right. We're on the same page.
How have we not talked about that? The opening of this movie.
The opening's fantastic.
How would you react to that? To not just him dancing, but before that?
I thought it was. I'm usually a person when it comes to prosthetics or gore or whatever. I think I can handle it pretty well. Usually.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I'm like, that's not real.
Yeah.
And I can get in that mindset, especially like I think Terminator was an example of where they somewhat did it well.
Yeah, you're talking about the eye scene.
Yeah, stuff like that. I think I'm able to look at it and go, yeah, that's not real, but I still think it looks cool. But this was, it still looked real. It was a really good job.
The prosthetic,
to the point where I was like, oh.
Whatever prosthetic they used for him to shove the rod in was just it was just too fleshy to be like, oh, that's just a prosthetic. And it was just
it's the rest of the flesh moved with it, which I think is something that doesn't show very often in prosthetics like that. But like everything moved the way it was supposed to.
Yeah, which just makes it like when you see it, you cringe more because of that. You're just like, oh my god.
Right. Especially when he like did that last shove at the very end. I was like, oh that's No, go ahead.
No, you say what you were gonna.
I really didn't have anything. I was just filling space in between words.
That was exactly what I was doing too.
Okay, then I can pull up a point if you want me to.
Well, I got something I want to talk about. I love this movie. This might be a hot take. I don't know if you'll agree with me on this.
Okay.
It is perfectly edited.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely seamless, perfect editing.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many choices in it. Like, when he wants to transition from scenes, like, there are a couple times where Tsukamoto, like, cuts to the TV and someone on TV is doing this maniacal laugh. And then it cuts to the next scene. That is so cool. And, like, the camera movements, too. Like, not only the editing, but, like, the shots he chooses to use.
Yeah.
Like, where he's done the camera movements, and it's obviously, like, thought out beforehand. He didn't just go, oh, maybe I'll do this. He thought, okay, we'll do this because I think this will have a great effect. Like, when he's moving the camera around the front of the car, and that romantic music is playing. Like,
I think I even put in my notes, editing is incredible.
Yes! I love to hear it.
I really liked... So I would want to watch it a couple more times before I say perfectly edited, but I would say, upon my first viewing, I definitely agree with that sentiment. I think that was another one of his strong suits of working on it almost fully himself.
Mm-hmm.
It gave him the idea of, like, he had from the start what he was going to do, including shots, and like one shot I like in particular is during the chase scene at the beginning where the camera, instead of just following him, it goes like upside down and follows it, like stuff like that. I think that kind of stuff. The cutting to the TV a lot in the guy in the metal room. I know that means something. I just don't know what it is, but like cutting to stuff while stuff's going on.
Yeah.
I know some people might not be the biggest fan of, but I think it worked in terms of keeping you on your feet the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Like if it weren't for a lot of the like random cut-ins, I feel like it would have been a little bit of a slower crawl.
Yeah,
but with that, no, go ahead.
And that's the thing. Like, I think a lot of the story is told through the editing. Like, it's not told to you; it's edited in. Like, when the pencil lady picks up the like metal flesh thing.
Yes.
And it keeps cutting to the fetishist, like anticipating. Like, that's a little thing to tell you, oh, he's controlling this, and now he controls her. And that's not told to you it's edited to you, which I just love.
Right. I think it was interesting, now that I'm thinking about that scene, how some characters acted about things. I think typically in horror movies, or even movies in general, when there's something abnormal happening, there's a very obvious, like, whoa, this has never happened to me before.
Yeah.
But some of the things that happened in the film, it really did feel like everybody in that world had this sense of, like, what am I trying to say here? Like, there's a word for it. Margin of belief or something like that, where they even if it's weird, they're willing to believe certain things.
Yeah.
Like with her, like convulsing and stuff and whatever. I think he even saw her hand when he turned around, but like he was trying to ignore it, even though it's clearly something that doesn't normally happen to him.
I feel like that's more of a genuine reaction too, because if I saw someone like that, like at the subway, I wouldn't be like, I have to run away now. I'd be like, what is going on?
Yeah.
I better get out of here. Oh, they're following me? I better walk faster. Maybe they're not following me and I'm just paranoid. Oh, no, they're chasing me. I better run.
But even like his girlfriend or wife or whatever she was, his reaction to him, even that felt, I don't know, because she kept saying, like, nothing will shock me. And I feel like that's a typical, like, right before a freak out thing, which it was, technically it was.
Yeah.
But even leading up to that and her seeing, like, parts of it, she was still acting pretty normal, for in my opinion.
Yeah.
Up until he killed her. But I feel like everyone in the film had this sense of, I don't know what the term is. There's a very good term for it. It's just not happening for me right now.
A sense of... Fuck, now I'm trying to think of it. I think I know what you're talking about.
Reasonable doubt. That's what it is. They have, like, a sense of reasonable doubt or whatever.
This could be happening, but they're kind of, like, blocking that out and kind of saying, no, that couldn't really be happening, could it?
Yeah, or, like, they're all at this level where they have a margin where we don't have. So, like, if I saw that, I think normal people would, in our reality or whatever, we'd freak out. But I think in that movie, they're a bit higher in terms of, like, they have a bit more of a margin of what they're willing to accept as normal. I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them, I don't know. I'm kind of just saying words to say words.
No, I get, like, the Doctor too, where it's just like, how did you survive?
Yeah. It did feel like a lot of it. Everybody in the movie seemed very
I love
cool
his line where he's just like, what genius put that in your head?
I want to talk about one of my I think it might be my favorite scene in the film, which is like I said, the future / like diorama scene.
Yeah.
I think that whole scene's incredible to me just because he managed to capture a kind of atmosphere and a kind of place that you couldn't do back then. You couldn't, like, get this dark whatever world that well. Like a void, you couldn't really do that well back then. At least I don't feel like it, but I know there's films that did it.
Have you seen? You've seen Eraserhead?
Yeah, I watched a thing about it. I didn't watch it though, but I need to. That film did a really good job though.
Eraserhead has whenever the film gets into that territory, but it's the New World territory, it feels a lot like Eraserhead in that atmospheric kind of other place.
Yeah.
Like in Eraserhead, there's these scenes. Like the opening scene is like a weird abstract impregnation scene, and it's like taking place on this other world, and there's this guy who pulls a lever, and it felt very much like that, where it's just like this isn't reality, but it's happening.
I don't know. Did Eraserhead come out before or after this?
Before. Eraserhead was 79. This movie was 89. It's like 10 years. A solid decade.
Yeah, a lot of directors, I think in general, have taken a lot from Eraserhead as time has gone on. But I feel like Eraserhead just really nailed on the head how even an older movie can make a desolate wasteland really, really easily.
Yeah.
Well, not easily, but like can do it. It's possible.
Yeah.
And so I think it was interesting because you can tell that house where they were filming that in, at least I think so, but tell me if I'm wrong, no more, but it feels like that's his neighborhood, or like that's where he lives, and so you can tell it's not easy to find the kind of stuff they did in Eraserhead, where there's just empty spaces where they can film that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so they made their own, and I feel like it added to this level of like not normal with how everything was moving and how everything looked.
I think you're right. I don't know. I think you're right in that they probably filmed like at someone's house.
Yeah.
Which, like, I would love to take a time machine back and go to that specific town and watch them film any of those scenes outside in public. like the tank at the end.
Yeah.
Just seeing them roll around in that and then just being like on the street and like maybe there's some other people just like, what the fuck are they doing? What is that?
I mean, they had to have been building that outside because because Japan's one of the, especially I think back then, was one of those areas where there's not a lot of places where you can just do stuff quietly. Although they did have the warehouse scene, they could have used that at some point. But I don't know. I'm not going to theorize about how they did stuff in the movie, but you can probably imagine just the neighbors next door watching them build that thing outside and just go, what is honey? There's something going on outside. I don't know. It was well done all the way through.
Yes.
It's one of my favorite, although I haven't seen a lot of foreign films personally, although I'm working on that, keep in mind, but that's definitely one of my favorite. My least favorite being Goodnight Mommy, if anyone's seen that.
Oh, really? I've been wanting to see that.
Well, I might need to watch it over again, but it's very much one of those films where you can tell they were on purpose trying to be artsy and slow, and it just came across as boring the whole time. Again, I think I watched it 4 or 5 years ago. That could have just been everybody around me's opinion sinking into my head. So I'll wait.
I've had that happen.
but this movie was a good example of trying to be abstract and be different, and it works. And it doesn't feel like an artsy film. It just feels like a really good film.
It's not someone trying to call attention to themselves and how good they are. It's someone having an idea and wanting to just do it.
Yeah.
Which is one of the best things about this film.
I think what's interesting is movies around that time had a really tough time. I think a lot of other movies use dioramas or like perspective stuff to make larger things smaller and smaller and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But he really nailed it on the head, and I'm not sure specifically what he did. But like I said, a lot of films at that time had a really tough time with grasping that and how to make that blend and work together. Yeah. Because that was like a newer concept, I think, around that time. But he really nailed it on the head that entire time in terms of making the dioramas feel like it's as big as he wanted it to look. Yeah. And making the tank feel like it was as big as he wanted to, which I think that tank might be a bit smaller than it appears in the movie. But again, I don't know that for certain.
Yeah, you can tell because all the camera angles are like worm's eye view.
Bottom up. Yeah, it is worm's eye view.
Oh my god.
He just had a really good idea of what he wanted to do, despite this being his, you said, second movie?
Yes.
That's impressive to me. Just because there's a lot of stuff where he showed the level, like a much higher level of experience than he actually had.
Yeah, well, he also worked like at advertising. He like filmed commercials. Okay. He filmed a commercial with LaToya Jackson.
Really?
Yeah, for like a Japanese. What was it? I forget what it was, what the product was. But yeah, it's like a weird commercial. And he also, which I found out just today through an interview of his, he also was in this underground theater troupe. And that's where the name of the production company, Kaiju Productions, or Kaiju Theater.
That's interesting.
That was the name of the theater. And so he kind of took that for his own production company, and that's where he met the guy who played the main character, Tomoro Taguchi.
Gotcha. Okay. And I guess that does make sense then.
Yeah. And so I think that's probably like a lot of his experience with doing things himself probably comes from that.
Yeah.
Because if it's an underground theater, he's probably not getting like a lot of people to help him, so he's probably gonna have to like make the props and stuff like that.
But I think it's fascinating in terms of like, I think even people with that level of experience, it's hard to think of each bit that you've learned in the situation that you need it. Like, I think you have this wealth of knowledge by the point that you make this film, And I think most people would have a tough time thinking of what to do in certain situations.
Yeah.
Like, especially the future scene. Like, I think a lot of people would be stumped, like, well, we can't find a location for this. So I don't know. Even if you have that experience of making dioramas, sometimes that stuff just doesn't hit your mind until later.
Yeah.
But it felt like every single step of the way he knew exactly what he was going to do.
Oh, yeah.
And anytime someone came to him, well, like the two people that he was working with in that film, like actors, I mean.
Yeah.
Anytime someone was like, this might not work, he was like, no, I got an alternative. Let's worry about that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 actors in this movie. And one of them was helping him with the cinematography.
Gotcha, okay. But yeah, altogether, it just felt very comprehensive, which is really impressive for a second film, even after a lot of production experience.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know, so I have to sometime make a list of favorite movies. I definitely think it's in my top 10 or 20 or whatever whatever I'm putting this in. It was really great though.
It is.
I had a feeling from the beginning I was going to like it, just because I've always liked movies that go way past where they need to, and don't care. Well, not that they don't care, but they're not super interested with pleasing everybody in the theater.
Yeah.
I think a lot of films at this point kind of are. A lot of films are like, oh, well, we want to make sure everybody understands the movie by the end of it.
Yeah, a lot of big production companies are definitely trying to do that, because that seems kind of like the model nowadays for mainstream movies.
Yeah. But especially back then, I took a class on this, but abstract movies were a thing in I think European country. I could be completely wrong on all this, but earlier in filmmaking, abstract films were very, very popular. But I think by this point, you said it was the 70s? 89. By this point, a lot of people were more on the realistic side of films. A lot of people wanted more grounded films. This was the time where films started grounding in terms of, okay, we want this to be more realistic. Even horror stuff was pretty grounded by this point. But
going into the 90s, Scream and all that.
Yeah. But to see a director go completely beyond that anyways, I don't care. I'm going to go completely past where I need to. That stuff's impressive to me.
And he does that for Tetsuo 2 and Tokyo Fist. It's still in abstract territory, and it's just wild kind of directing. And then Bullet Ballet, he starts shifting into a more sort of grounded filmmaking style, but it still has weirdness and interesting choices.
Right. But yeah, all in all, there aren't a ton of movies. I know there's a handful for me, but there aren't a ton of movies where I've watched it and I've gone, okay, I want to see what the rest of this person has made.
Hell yeah.
There's not a lot of movies like that for me. A lot of them have either been I want to see more in this genre, or I want to see more of this actor or whatever, but not a lot of them where I've been all right, I'm watching the other stuff by this director.
I have
which
bad
I know
news
is the
for you,
path
Parker.
you've gone down, definitely.
I have bad news. His stuff isn't very widely available.
I mean, that's fair. I've figured by now that there's definitely going to be challenges with foreign films trying to catch all these.
Yeah.
I think it's good that, like you said, they came out with a box set a while ago with a lot of the is it the main ones that they did, or just most of them or all of them?
It's just I guess the most popular ones, the most beloved ones.
Gotcha.
Because
it reminds me of oh, sorry, go ahead.
Nah, I didn't have anything. I was just filling space, I guess.
It reminds me of how kind of unavailable or unheard of a lot of the Ju-on and the Tomy movies are.
Yeah.
I looked it up on IMDb, and there are, I think, 4 or 5 Ju-on movies, and then there's 7 Tomy movies. And you wouldn't have heard about any of them because they're all Japanese-based film series. And so a lot of those mainly, although there's exceptions, obviously, including Ju-on The Grudge, the first one, but and the second one. The second one's pretty available. But in terms of the rest of that stuff, it's pretty hard to find.
Yeah, it is. It's really hard.
It sucks because those are good movies, but I think the U.S. just hates foreign films. They just don't like it. and it's kind of frustrating.
I wish that wasn't the case. I want to watch more.
I know, it's so frustrating. I was about to go on a rant. Go ahead.
I can't, like, he has so many other movies, like Hiruko the Goblin. I can't find that anywhere.
Right.
For the longest time, I couldn't find Tetsuo 2 anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, it was nowhere. It was gone. And so until I got this box set, I could not watch it.
Right.
And that's
frustrating.
Yeah.
I think it's frustrating to me how hard it is to get Japanese media in the U.S. unless it's anime.
Yeah.
I think which to me is frustrating. Although there's one specific example that I'm mad about. I don't know if I've told you about this. I might have, but I am so mad at whoever is in charge of the relations in terms of Gundam media, because it is so difficult to get a hold of anything in the U.S. Did you know, Sam, that every single I think every single, although I could be wrong, but every single form and show and whatever of Gundam almost is on Netflix right now, but only in Japan?
Oh my god.
And the worst part is, even if you get a VPN, and even if you get to watch it, which it works, everybody get a VPN, but even if you get a VPN and change it to Japan and watch it, they don't have English subtitles. It's impossible to watch Gundam unless you want to pay like $60 to $80 for one DVD.
I feel that pain.
It's so frustrating. I don't know if it's Japan's fault. I don't know if it's the US's fault.
Do you know about Takeshi Kitano?
Maybe. You'll have to
Takeshi
you'll have to tell
Kitano,
me.
he started out as a comedian in Japan. And then he made then he started becoming a director.
Yeah, wait, Takeshi, yes. He made Takeshi's Challenge, right?
Yes.
The game? Okay, yes, I know him, yes.
He is
the Swiss Army knife of
He is
Japan.
one of my favorite filmmakers.
Yeah.
Fireworks and Boiling Point are are two of the best movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
They cost so much to get his first 3 movies, and then everything else is kind of just like all over the place and not anywhere. Like, the only thing that's widely available over here is his Outrage series.
Right.
Like, Kikujiro, which I've heard is a beautiful movie and one of his best, I can't watch. Because I can't find it anywhere.
It's so frustrating all across the board. I don't know what the cause is or whose fault it is, but I'm ready to start signing petitions.
Yes.
It's so expensive to be a Gundam fan. I can't do it because I want to be a Gundam fan so bad. I want to watch this stuff, but it's so hard to find. Especially like the main grounded. There's like 50 different timelines, but there's a main one, and it is so difficult to watch anything in it. It's all so deeply buried everywhere. Like, you can watch the original 50 episode series on archive.com, which I won't be giving the link to. I'm watching them legally. Don't worry.
Have you heard about archive.com?
I have. I'll rant about that in a minute. But it's so frustrating because I can't sit there for 50 episodes on a 70s anime. Do you know how hard it is to watch an anime from the 70s? I'm pretty open-minded when it comes to older anime or movies. This was hard. It's hard. It's a very influential series and it's amazing, but it's dated and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
There's this movie, which is in my top 10 of all time. It's called Son of the White Mare.
Okay.
It's this animated movie from Hungary.
Yeah.
Hungary. Not Hungaria. And it's Hungarian, is what I'm saying. And it is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. The animation is gorgeous. It's a real experience. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I have seen it once and without subtitles because there's no sort of release over here in the US. They're finally doing a Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Which they said would come out in the spring, but I guess coronavirus just kind of derailed all that.
Right.
And I'm still I'm still waiting for that Blu-ray because I can't watch it anywhere else. Especially now because since they're doing Blu-ray, they've taken it off YouTube.
I don't know who I have to contact or what I have to sign, but I want it to be more this stuff to be more available. It's so frustrating.
We don't even appreciate our own filmmakers. George Romero, Dawn of the Dead, and Martin. You'd have to spend mountains of money to get either of those on DVD. And Martin has never had like a fully it hasn't had a DVD release that's actually in the right aspect ratio.
It's just Japan. Well, it's us. It's our fault, but I'm saying it's only Japan that we had this issue with, I feel like.
Yeah.
Well, there's other countries, but so we've talked about this Panorama of Hell.
Yeah.
That is so expensive, and I think the reason why is not only because I think there's only a few print copies in general, but I think it's just so expensive to get here. I don't know why that is, but even there is a horror book that everybody suggests to me. It's one Japanese word, and I can't think of it. Give me a second, and I'll find it.
Okay.
But that's like a couple $100 to buy that too on Amazon. Which again, I barely buy things from Amazon anymore because they suck all across the board. But I just don't understand. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. It starts with a T. Let's see if I can find it. Nope. I don't know. It's toe something. Toji.
Ooh. Is it the toe bro?
Hold on. No.
Hold on. The toe bro?
No, but I'm scared to ask.
Okay. I'm opening my files. I'm looking through.
Oh, no.
Oh, shit. I gotta look for the toe bro. Alright. Where are you? Where are you, man? Come on. There you are. You ready, Parker?
I don't think I am.
I want you to put this up.
I want you to
put this up on screen, too, so the viewers can see it.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you said that to me. Why?
Because
why?
I could.
Okay, this might be. Oh man, why? Why did I agree to that?
So I guess now we're kind of transitioning into just talking about shit.
Yeah, I gotta see. I really can't think of what this book's called, but it's a pretty popular Japanese horror book. And it's for paperback. No, I think even paperback's pretty expensive. I literally can't think of what it's called right now. It starts with a T. If I remember, I'll talk about it in another episode. But it's very. I know nothing about it. I just knew it was recommended by literally everybody I talked to, and then I looked at it. And it was like $200 unless you want to buy it digitally. I was like, what?
God.
It's just all very frustrating, like localization stuff. It's just let me watch Gundam, please.
Let me watch.
Whoever has to beg.
Let me watch Takeshi Kitano movies.
Right. Oh man.
God.
No, go ahead. You're fine.
We keep interrupting each other.
It's fine.
We should watch Ichi the Killer.
Yeah, I know we've brought that up. I think we brought that up last episode too. I'd be willing to do that at some point.
It's on Shudder. You can watch it.
Oh, well, there we go.
Yeah, it's easily accessible, and also has our boy Shinya Sakamoto in it.
Hey.
He plays a very prominent character, and I didn't know that the first time I watched the movie, and then I was looking at IMDb, I'm like, wait a second.
I'm reading some of the manga, just bits and pieces here and there, but.
Oh, Ichi the Killer.
Yeah, Ichi the Killer. Oh. It's under a different name in Japanese. I can't think of what it is. But...
it's the word for one, I think.
Yeah.
Kuro something. I don't know.
But, I just wanted to bring up this film. I don't know if you've ever watched this, but this seems like something that would be on both of our radars. Have you ever watched Melancholia?
No, but I've heard about it.
It's.
You've told me about it. You told me after you watched it.
Yeah, I watched it in my class. I guess I should tell this story because it's funny to me.
All right.
We watched Melancholia in my film class. It was an apocalypse film class, which was interesting.
I'm sorry. I feel like I should remember this.
It's not like a memorable story or anything. It's funny to me at least. But we watched Melancholia, and it was during this apocalypse in film class that I took, which was okay. But I think what was funny to me is the whole time we've been watching stuff like what's one of the first examples of sci-fi alien invasion, end of the world. Someone just made art of it. It's a black and white film. It was in the 50s or 60s. Oh man, it's gonna kill me. Do you know anything else about it? Let me look. Hold on. Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna mark it down so I can.
Wait, the day the Earth stood still?
Yes, that's it. Okay. I don't know why it took me so long. Okay, yes. The Day the Earth Stood Still. And oh yeah, stuff like that. We would just watch that. We watched oh my gosh, I'm gonna die with how many movies I can't remember the name of. There was another film, kids weren't being born all over the world. And then one girl was pregnant, and then the main character has to try to get her somewhere safe so she can have a kid. I don't know. Whatever. Too many movies. Melancholia is different because those are all very like stereotypical end of the world, dramatic, whatever. Melancholia is a movie where it spends the first half of the movie addressing nothing about the end of the world, and the second being about the end of the world in a way that is very weird. The whole movie is one of those movies where it's very abstract the entire time, and I think that's the director. That's just him. He's the one that made Antichrist.
Lars von Trier, yeah.
Yes, he's very controversial all over the board.
I've only seen one movie of his, and it's before he got really controversial.
Mm-hmm. Which movie is that?
Europa.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty good.
I think he's got an appeal to him, in my opinion. Like, I think I would enjoy him, but he's very much a director that splits people in like 3/4 groups. Like 1/4 really likes it, and 3/4 hates it with a passion. And we got to the end of that movie, and I enjoyed it, in my opinion. It felt like a good movie, although I know there were flaws. There were parts where it's just like, what is the hell?
Yeah.
But everyone in my class fucking hated that whole movie. They were so, at the end, they were just tearing it apart. And I mean, I get it. It's not for everyone at all. It's the first half, in case you don't know, it's just about I think either a meteorite or a star or something like that hitting Earth. Mm-hmm. But the first half of the movie is a wedding where the bride gets drunk, and it's very weird and dreamlike. And the second half is the rest, where the Earth's going to get destroyed. Yeah. And what's weird is the first half is, I think if I'm remembering this correctly, the first half is supposed to represent depression, and the second half is supposed to represent anxiety in the film's own way. But even then it's weird. It's weird, man. And my whole class just kept trashing on it, and I was just like, oh yeah, I totally agree. But in reality, I think it had charm. I don't know why I'm bringing up the story. I just think it's funny to think about like all of these films where I've watched it, and they obviously just don't have that much of an interest in pleasing everybody. Uh-huh. And it's funny to watch that reaction out of everybody.
Yeah.
Like The Lighthouse is a good example, obviously. Mother is my favorite example of that. Show anybody Mother, and they'll just be like, what the that?
I haven't seen that one yet.
No, you haven't seen Mother? It's the most like stressful, uncomfortable film I've ever sat through.
Wait.
And it's got so many meanings.
Wait, is it the Aronofsky one?
I'm not sure. It has the guy who plays in No Country for Old Men, who's the killer in that.
Is it Jennifer Lawrence in that?
Jennifer Lawrence is in it.
Okay, then I know what you're talking about. There's another movie called Mother, which is also artsy, so it gets confusing sometimes when talking about those two movies.
Okay. I should probably say it like this since it has an exclamation point. Mother! Because it has...
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about then.
I think what fascinated me is the trailer immediately threw me in. Like, I had no idea what the hell was happening. Nobody has showed any idea what was happening, but I was like, I'm gonna watch that. That's my favorite kind of horror movie trailer, or trailer at all. Like Tenet. Have you seen the trailer for Tenet?
No.
Please watch the trailer for Tenet. I'm almost willing to have this paused so you can watch the trailer for Tenet and then we can come back. But the trailer for Tenet is who made the Batman films that I'm blacking out on? Christopher Nolan. I almost said him, but I said somebody else almost. But he directed this movie. Christopher Walken.
Whoa, okay. I thought you were gonna say another director.
No. But like, it's a time travel-ish movie. But they don't really say that. They never say anything about time travel, and yet you can kind of tell. I don't know how to explain it. I'm going off on a tangent.
I've heard everyone be like, I don't know what in the trailer indicates this, but I've seen everybody be like, I will start standing Christopher Nolan if he has just made a time travel movie about stopping 9/11.
It's possible. I don't know what the hell is happening in the trailer. I do know that our boy Robert Pattinson's in this film, though.
Oh.
Yeah. It's
I'm much more interested.
It's got Robert Pattinson. It's got a bunch of other really good actors in it. I don't know. The whole trailer is fantastic, and I have no idea what's happening in any of it.
Okay, I'll check that out.
Yeah, definitely. Like after we're done recording, while we're on the call.
Okay.
I don't know where I was going with all this. I think I was just rambling. But do you have something you want to ramble about?
Yeah. Let's just talk a bit.
Yeah.
I have been reading some comics.
Oh, let's hear it.
I have been reading Pogo.
Oh yeah, you were talking about that.
Yeah, it's this funny animal comic strip from the 50s. That's kind of political. I don't know why I said that with a question mark. It is political. Okay. I don't know why I tried to soften it. But
it's kind of political, but it is.
It's very funny. I very much love it. And I'm afraid to express that love because I'm afraid people will call me a furry. Because to be honest,
I mean, everybody's a furry at this point. Let's be real.
If I found out that
ever since Beastars came out,
what?
Ever since Beastars came out, everybody's a furry. Let's be real.
Well, there are moments where I don't know if Walt Kelly was a furry. Because Walt Kelly's the author, and there are some points where he draws the animals, and they have very prominent eyelashes and very cute eyes. And I got a question. I gotta be like, is he? Because
there's always the chance.
After we all found out Tezuka was, the floodgates are open. It could be anybody from any point in history.
Right.
Do you know about that?
I don't.
Osamu Tezuka? Alright, so
maybe?
First, do you know who Osamu Tezuka is?
Maybe. It's all maybes for me.
It's fine. He is the creator of Astro Boy.
Oh, yes. Okay, then now I do, yes.
Yes. He died in 1989, actually. Pure coincidence.
Hey. I don't know why I said hey to that. I apologize. That was inappropriate. Okay, go on.
Hey, he died.
Hey, someone died. Hey.
It's fine. It was like 30 years ago. But after he died, decades passed, and then I don't remember when it happened, but his daughter found a desk of his with a locked drawer, and she unlocked it, and it was full of furry and transformation softcore porn that he himself drew.
Really?
Yes.
Do we know if it was an attraction, or do we know if it was more of like
Parker
trying out something new?
Parker, if you looked it up,
yes,
and saw the drawings, you know it was an attraction. It absolutely was.
Fair enough. I haven't seen them, so I guess
it's just I'm a fan of Tezuka. I love his stuff. I have a bunch of his books. I think it's so funny that 30 years after he died, he got caught with his pants down. I think that's just amazing. A man
can't even be dead, and a man can't even be dead in peace without people digging up his furry art.
I hope that happens to me, because God knows I'm not gonna give a shit. He's written and drawn some of the most beautiful stories ever, and he also made furry porn.
I mean, hey, Sometimes it happens.
Hey.
Sometimes you fall down that rabbit hole.
Sometimes you just gotta follow your heart.
Right. Right in the furry porn.
But also, you could tell if you actually read his stuff. He literally has a story in one of his most popular comics, Phoenix, where a dude gets his face cut off by evil guys and then replaced with a wolf's face, and then he's just a wolf guy.
Yeah.
And that's just like, okay, we see what you're doing here.
Yeah.
We see you. What was I talking about?
You were bringing up comics you've been reading.
Oh yeah, Pogo. Yeah, Pogo's funny. Yeah. It kind of follows like the same kind of formula as. What was that noise? I heard a noise like on my computer.
I have no idea. I definitely heard a noise and I thought it was you, but I don't know.
Oh, I think it was my fucking Alexa thing. Because I have one of those in my room, and sometimes I say just random shit, and then she goes,
After
sorry.
last episode, we know, Sam.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It was on the last episode, too. But yeah, it has that kind of plot line, where, like, each strip, like, there's this starting action. And then as it goes on, it just gets more and more just like, how do we get here? Like,
right.
Like, I don't know, just something as innocuous as, Owl wants to start a school, and then it ends up with, oh, everybody's trying to get Pogo, the main character, to become president of the United States.
Yeah, wait. I think I might have read this.
What?
Maybe, hold on. Let me make sure before I put my foot in my mouth. Hold on.
Dude.
Maybe I read this?
Dude.
Maybe I read this? I gotta check before I put my foot in my mouth.
Do it.
Is it about the little penguin thing?
Huh?
Hold on. I gotta make sure.
No, he's a possum.
Okay, then I'm thinking I'm thinking of,
Oh, you're thinking of, oh, what's his name? No, I know what you're thinking of. Newt.
I can't think. It's like a little penguin thing.
I can't think of it. Right?
What is it on a manga?
Pingu.
Penguin. No.
You're not thinking of
like
Pingu?
No, I'm not thinking of Pingu. It's this like, it starts with an O, maybe? It's like, what am I trying to think of here? It's a manga about like real children or something, but among them is like this weird caricature or something of a penguin or whatever.
Oh.
What is the hell? I will have to look this up.
This is This is a 50 strip in America.
Okay.
Good night, Pun Pun.
Good night, Pun Pun. That's it.
That's it.
Sorry, I was getting a side trip. Yes. Good night, Pun Pun.
I want to read that. I read one of that same guy's works and didn't really like it that much.
It's a very, very slow crawl.
Yeah.
I've heard it gets much better later, but unless you are like, I don't know, unless you're willing to sit down for a while and read something that feels very slow, I don't know.
I get into that.
It's hard to digest.
Yeah.
It's a lot, but I mean, it's okay. It's not my favorite. I think there's some people that would really like it because it talks about something. I don't know what it talks about. I tell you, I think I've read about 15 chapters of it, and I still don't know what's happening.
Yeah,
but
I've read stories like that.
I mean, to each their own. I mean, yeah.
It's just whatever you like.
Yeah.
What have you been doing recently? Have you already read or watched anything?
So I have. So I just recently finished, after I think I talked about this last episode, but after a couple of years of trying to digest this book, I finally finished Clash of Kings, which is the second Song of Ice and Fire book.
Yes, you were telling me about it.
Now I'm on the third, and I started a couple of days ago, but I'm 100 out of 900 pages through, so I'm feeling better about how I'm going through this one.
Hey, 9 times more than that, and you'll be done.
Yeah, it's a slow read. I just have trouble. It's just slower for me to read this than normal books. Like, I think normal books I could get 100 in a day, but I think for this I'd have to get 50 done.
Is it that this one is just like, it has a lot more information than regular?
Here's how a normal thing would work. I think there's about 2 or 3 pages usually dedicated to a scene at a time. And what I mean is, like, they'll either spend that time describing the location or describing, like, what's happening in that moment. And I mean, that's not a bad thing. He does it really well, and he does it in a way that makes you visualize it really well. But when there's a couple pages just on what a few people are doing in a room before dialogue even happens, sometimes it's hard to read through. Like, sometimes it's a lot, but other times it really picks up, and there's a lot of things going on one after another. But I mean, it's just a very bipolar book all the way through. Clash of Kings is good. Game of Thrones, the original book, was really good. I think Clash of Kings, though, is like where it all picks up and takes form. But I'm now on Storm of Swords, which is the third one. It's long. It's so long that in some other collections they've actually split the book in 2 parts.
Ooh, that's a long book.
Common. It's pretty common for people to read it in part 1. I don't know what the parts are called, but part 1 and part 2. So I'm giving myself slack on this. If I don't finish it in a month or 2, I'm understanding of myself right now. But
yeah.
It's been a lot to digest. So it's good though.
I have so many books I've started and never finished that I got like years ago.
Yeah.
Can I tell you about my plan for those books? I have...
No.
So I don't know if I have like a mild case of OCD. I don't know. I really don't know. This is something to talk to my therapist about. But what I've done is I have made a pile of all the books I have not read yet that I started reading.
Yeah.
And I have stacked them next to my desk. And the way I've stacked them, they're alternating with Pogo books because I have a lot of those too. So I read one book and then read a Pogo and then read one book and then read a Pogo. And that is my
just can't read.
plan.
I'm a very I don't know what it is with me. I don't know if it's the ADHD. It's probably the ADHD. But I have a hard time sitting down and reading books, and sometimes I'll get really into it, and sometimes I read like a couple pages. But I think where my issue is, and I think you might have told me about this being your case as well, but I'll read a book, and I'll get into it, and then I'll drop it for a bit, and when I come back, I'll have no idea what the hell I just read.
Yeah.
And that was my problem with Clash of Kings, is I think I was about 60 or 70% of the way done with the book already by the time I came back. And it had been forever since I read it. What the hell am I going to do? Read it again? No.
I do that with TV shows.
I don't know. I feel like it'll be fun to go through the TV show again, though, with the book knowledge. I don't hold against anybody for just watching the show. Like, I think that's super valid to do that, and I almost did that several times. But it's something so fun about going through it on your own and then seeing the show and going like, oh, here's that and here's this and blah blah blah. And I had 2 more suggestions. I'm sorry. Do you mind if do you want to do one really quick?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I have one more book suggestion. What's that?
You can go ahead.
Okay, I have one more book suggestion.
You can talk now.
Okay.
You can go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
Talk. Okay, talking, man. I don't get this.
So my Revenge of the Sith, the novelization. I haven't been a fan of novelizations before of like anything. But if you're a Star Wars fan or you're just a sci-fi fan or whatever, if you've watched Revenge of the Sith and then you read the book or whatever way you do that, it's pretty fantastic. They do really well with, I think, the big detachment from books and the movies is you can't really hear the thoughts of the characters, obviously.
Yeah.
But the books do a really good job of giving you an insight in what they were thinking during certain scenes. And they take certain liberties to make characters even cooler than they were before. Like General Grievous, if you've watched you've watched the films, right?
Long time ago.
Yeah, that's fine. But General Grievous, they've always given him a really bad rep. Even though in the books, like the extended universe books where they're not super canon anymore, he's one of the coolest fucking people in the entire thing. But they completely take that away from him in the film. Like, I think they had something where he can do like 20-something lightsaber hits in 1 second. And like Obi-Wan was blocking all of them and like stuff like that, but they never talk about that in the movies.
Yeah,
like
that's isn't that like in the show, in the Clone Wars like early 2000s show?
So the early 2000s show made him very much like a threat, and explained a lot of the stuff that happened in the film before the film happened.
He is my favorite Star Wars character because of that show.
Yes. The show made him intimidating, and they made a lot of explanations as to why in the third movie he was so squirrely the entire time and why he kept running away from things. It wasn't because he was like freaked out, it's because he had been weakened previously, and so he's like, oh, I'm not going to survive this like I normally would. I got to get out of here. And it explained why he was sick and whatever. But what the Clone Wars did is it like unraveled all of that and just kept that theme going throughout the entire thing. Like it like even Ahsoka, who I don't think Ahsoka's a bad character, but in season 1 she was a Padawan. Like she's very new to all of this, but she was going toe to toe with Grievous on her own. And that makes stuff like the third movie where Obi-Wan's fighting him and stuff like feel less significant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just they do a lot of that stuff, and they throw away a lot of the extended universe stuff, and then they're like, oh, well, we're going to add back slowly. Just make all of it canon, although you can't do that now because the last 3 movies come out. I don't know where I was going with this.
Because dirty Disney has its fingers all up under George Lucas's skin.
That's for another episode for me to like go into all the Star Wars movies, but I think their big issue was never drawing from the books or any of the existing things that happen. I'm not saying they have to just make a movie out of what exists, but they had so much to work with that they could have taken from, and they just didn't take from anything. They just were like, but I
lost potential.
Right, I won't get into Star Wars arguments today. That's for another separate episode.
Be wise. Head back and live to talk about Star Wars another day.
But the book made me want to get interested in the author himself, because I think he characterizes Star Wars super well. He does a good job. He just does a good job of all that. What's his name? Hold on. Let me get it. Let me get my book out so I can read his name. I have my Goodreads out.
George Lucas. That's strange.
What's his name? I have it. Of course I put 50 comics between that book and the book I read recently. It's gonna be impossible to find. Hold on. Matthew Woodring Stover. So Matthew Stover.
Okay.
He's written a lot of other older sci-fi books, but this book's really great. If you're a Star Wars fan or a sci-fi fan or any fan of anything, it's just a good book. Okay. It actually explains. There's a scene in Revenge of the Sith where the Emperor just has a red lightsaber out of nowhere, and people have always been like, "Oh, how the hell did he have that the whole time?" And nobody realized it. But the book reveals that it was like in a thing in his office, like a statue. I don't know. It's just little stuff like that. He took a lot of time into cleaning stuff up that didn't make sense, and making characters, elevating characters that really needed it. And I don't know. It's good. Everybody read it. It's not canon, but it's really great anyways. So, and then I only have one more thing and I'll be done.
Read it.
What's that?
Or we'll find you.
Everybody read it right now.
And then we'll shove it down your throat like in Dario Argento's Tenebrae.
It's hard to get a hold. Well, not hard to get a hold of, but I mean it's not cheap.
I thought you were gonna say it's hard to get a whole book down your throat.
I mean, it is, Sam.
It is.
It is, Sam. Okay, I wouldn't have been wrong.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been wrong.
Get like
the last thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Nah, you go.
I was just gonna say the last thing is I just watched John Wick 2 and 3 on my birthday.
Hell yeah!
Which was just recently.
Don't spoil 3, but I like 2.
I won't spoil them. They're all fantastic in their own way. Even if you just watch the first one and don't go from there, it's good on its own. But 2 and 3 really take it to another level in terms of cinematography and story. And they're like the only films that make me want to see a sequel to all of it.
I often just think about that subway scene with Keanu and Common, from 2. That's such a good scene.
Yeah, I don't know. I think my favorite part in 2, if we're gonna quickly go over that, is the car scene at the beginning.
Oh yeah, that is a good scene.
In terms of fight scenes, that's such like in terms of movies with car scenes, it's always like chases.
Yeah.
But it was such a cool and like I don't think I've seen a lot of movies before where they use the cars to fight. But it was such a cool use of that throughout the entire thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
The movies are great. Everybody watch them.
All right, can I close out with the recommendation?
Yeah, of course. Oh, do you want to announce the thing? You know. The thing?
The thing.
Do you want me to say it?
Are you talking about a collab?
Yeah. The guest. Our guest. Okay, so if in case she doesn't want to do this, I will cut this out.
Parker in the future, listen to this. Hey, pay attention, don't go to sleep. Hey, cut this part out if she doesn't want to. Hey, Parker, no!
If she does want to, I'm putting a mark down right here so that I know to... Okay, we're going to do 2 takes. Maybe. I don't know. Okay, I'm just going to say it. So, a YouTuber named Fleshwad has said that she is interested in being a guest in our next episode. She is on YouTube by the same name. She does art and speed drawing stuff on there. Or not speed, like time-lapse stuff of her art. But she also talks about internet mysteries, one of which she shows my tweets for in the Yummer episode, by the way. But she also does like creepypastas and stuff like that and Reddit horror stories. She's really good. She does a good job of narrating, and I connected with her over the Yummer thing that I got involved in. I'll talk about that some other time. But we contacted, and I told her that we were interested in having her, and she said she'd be interested. So she's gonna be in the next episode.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're gonna do it in a way where like we just talk to her about her art, or if we want to do a movie. If you guys have ideas, let us know. But yeah, she's gonna be our special guest in the next episode. So look forward to that.
Hell yeah.
We have other guests lined up, but I don't want to say them just yet in case at the last minute.
Obama. Sorry.
I actually will say one of them, maybe, unless you don't want me to.
Go ahead.
Okay, so hold on. Okay, so at some point they said that they'd be willing to talk to us eventually. I have to make the plans with them and set stuff up. But 2 of the cast members from a Netflix film called Await Further Instructions have shown interest in being on the podcast. They showed interest a while ago, and I apologize to them if they ever watch this for not following up on that sooner, but they said they'd be willing to come on sometime. So look out for an episode on that movie when we talk to the cast members. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Hell yes.
Hey.
Alright. So I wanna recommend a book.
Yes.
A couple days ago. Oh shit, was it yesterday? Tragically, Denny O'Neil died.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. He was a comic book writer. One of his most prominent things was that in the late 60s, early 70s, he and Neil Adams started getting Batman more dark. And if any of you like Batman where he is today, and you like the character as a brooding, dark, mysterious figure, you have Denny O'Neil to partly thank for that. And so I just want to recommend my favorite Denny O'Neil comic, which is Green Lantern, Green Arrow, which I think you like, Parker, if you haven't read it.
Yeah.
It's all about Green Lantern, and Denny O'Neil himself said this, which is awesome. He said that Green Lantern's basically a cop, and so what he wanted to do was take Green Arrow, who's very liberal and progressive, and just have them team up, and Green Arrow's trying to get Green Lantern to open up and see that law and justice aren't always the same. And it's just basically like this road trip story with both of them. And
that's interesting.
It's a classic. The art by Neil Adams is so good. It introduced John Stewart, the first black Green Lantern. And it's handled pretty well as you'd expect from a progressive white writer in the 70s. And it's one of the comics that started getting comics to look at social issues that were happening while it was being published and sort of analyze those. That was like one of the first comics to do that, and so it was very groundbreaking. And so, because sadly he passed away, I'd like to recommend that to everybody. It's one of my favorite comics ever, and I think you'd all enjoy it.
Do you mind if I recommend a Dennis O'Neil comic?
Go ahead.
I actually was just looking him up because I heard about that, but I didn't know like his specific comics. But I realized there is a comic that I would recommend to people who want to read his stuff. Well, the two of them, although I haven't read one of them, I just know it's a very popular one. Batman Venom is the one I'd recommend.
Yes, I read that.
It's essentially about Batman getting hooked on steroids, or like super steroids, that he believed would help him fight crime better, and he gets addicted to them, and it's a very interesting thing. I don't think it's one of my favorite comics, but it's like Sam said, it's one of like one of the few darker depictions of Batman. The rest of the art kind of gets slow, but I think it's worth taking a read, and maybe you'll take a liking to it. And the second is Batman Tales of the Demon. I've heard everybody recommend that to me, and it's on my list. But I've heard it's a fantastic. Is it one of the first Ra's al Ghul comics, or is that earlier?
Is that one of the thing, or is that part of like the original Batman run?
Yeah,
it's part of the original Batman run.
It's one of the bigger ones.
So yeah, it's the first. It's the first appearance.
Gotcha. Okay.
I also recommend. There's this podcast that Kevin Smith does, which I know there's a lot of people who are divided on Kevin Smith, but and Parker, I don't know if you knew about this podcast, but it's called Fat Man on Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, Kevin Smith just brings on different comics creators who've worked on Batman, and he has a couple episodes with Denny O'Neil, so I'd also recommend that.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, he also does Batman Contagion, which I've heard is another amazing Batman run. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to close it out?
Sure. Let me think of something. What is?
Do you want to talk about your gripe with me? Send it out.
My gripe with you?
Yeah, because of last episode.
Parker. I told you we wouldn't do this. This is look. I know we went on a call for like 5 hours and argued about it, but that's behind us now. And,
yeah, you're right.
And okay, all right. Are you okay? Well, if you want to make it a big deal, we can make a big deal here. we can go all out. I got my fists up.
I played the wrong version of the Sonic song.
Parker, I want a divorce.
Hey, and podcast divorce. We're gonna both have separate podcasts where we're like, but like we're talking to each other, and yet it's just our audio.
You get being dead, and I get Ed Rots.
Deal. We'll do that.
All right. To close us off, I'd like to play the correct song.
Sam, this didn't work last time. Just send me the link and I'll play it. If you're playing the song, it's cutting it. Oh, it's back.
Okay, just like cut it in the middle of there, and that's the end.
All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Tune in next episode when we have Fleshwad on here. See you guys.
And our @, @ComicNerdSam for me.
And it's @Parks00 for me.
All right, see y'all.
All right, bye.